Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion on the fallout from Boruto Chapter 80. And today, I want to switch things up a bit and weigh in on a discussion I saw a few of you guys pointing out after Boruto Chapter 80, which is there were quite a few of you guys who pointed out there's still a strong chance that Boruto losing everything runs deeper than we thought, because it's not just about what we've seen on Earth, where Boruto is someone that everyone believes is the killer of Naruto and Hinata, and that Kawaki is Naruto's firstborn son, but this effect also extends to other dimensions, which means even Code, who physically isn't on Earth, believes this to be the case. That Kawaki is no longer the person who he hates, but instead it's actually Boruto. While this might not seem like a big deal, some of you guys pointed out this very well could extend to the Daikokuden dimension as well, and I wanted to weigh in on the pros and cons of this being the case, as well as the potential narrative impact this is going to have. So the logic behind this line of thinking, it isn't flawed exactly. Ada's shinjutsu is pretty overpowered. The fact that it produced so much chakra that it could be seen from outer space, and it traveled through the center of the earth and it exit out of opposite sides of the planet is pretty darn telling. Given that Code is in another dimension and he was affected by this shinjutsu, the idea of Naruto and Hinata being affected by it is something of interest as well. Yes, time doesn't move in that dimension, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we're still talking about chakra and the manipulation of it. Their bodies are still suspended in time, but their bodies still possess chakra which can be manipulated. If Kawaki making that wish to have lives swap with Boruto when he touched Ada and spoke that into existence, if it extends this far, we got a really good plot twist on our hands. Right now, a majority of the fandom is looking at what's right in front of us. Boruto and Kawaki, they change roles. Boruto's now being hunted down as a rogue ninja, wanted for being the person who killed Naruto and Hinata. Sarada has awakened the mangekyou sharingan. Code is preparing to hunt down Boruto to take revenge on what should really be Kawaki's burden to carry, and Kawaki is also preparing to hunt down Boruto as well as finish the job and kill him off. Those are major lines of conflict for us to look at, and they rightfully deserve all of our attention right now. However, as was often the case in Naruto's manga, the conflict right in front of you is also meant to serve as a mask for the conflict that is coming around the corner in the form of an unexpected plot twist. We saw this in Naruto's manga, where all the focus was on getting intel on where Sasuke was hiding with Orochimaru to save him before Orochimaru took over his body, when in reality, Sasuke preventing Orochimaru from taking over his body was foreshadowed almost 200 chapters before it ever happened, because the casual line that was dropped that implied that Orochimaru tried to take over Itachi's body, and then 200 something chapters later it was mentioned in the manga again and confirmed to be the case that Orochimaru failed to take over Itachi's body just before Sasuke would go on to kill Orochimaru and absorb him into his being. There have been multiple instances in the Naruto franchise where we can see the current drama is being used to mask something that's placed in the story to be brought up at a much later point in time. It goes back to one of the messages of Naruto, seeing through deception. Right now, it's easy to overlook that Naruto and Hinata might be affected by this because they're right now written out of the story, but this would be an effective plot twist much later on. Given that Itachi being a good guy was literally foreshadowed in volume 1 of Naruto, and we didn't find out for certainty that he was actually a good guy until Naruto volume 43, some 400 chapters later, I don't think this is the craziest thing to say this might be something that gets dragged out for a longer period of time and then gets paid off. When they are unsealed and they return, and if they have no memory of Boruto being their firstborn son, that's going to make for a good plot twist that will rattle fans, because the possibility of them being affected by the shinjutsu is something way down the list on things that we as fans have been speaking about. And honestly, that's not the baddest take for us to have. It will also continue to prove to be effective writing for the next reason I'm going to lay out for you guys. It continues to give Kawaki more heat as they heal for this story, and it gives us more of a reason as readers to root for the babyface of the story, Boruto Uzumaki, to make things right and finish the story altogether. This emotionally would be another crippling blow for Boruto to overcome, and for him to make for a greater payoff for when Boruto does eventually find a way to make things right. The other thing that it does is that it gives Kawaki much needed heat. Right now, there is heat for Kawaki, but it's not white hot levels of heat, which is understandable. We were introduced to Kawaki in the flash forward sequence with him being portrayed as being a villain, but when we first met him, how were we actually introduced to him? He was a boy with a tragic past who was being hunted down by Car, and he was someone who ultimately found a home in the lives of the Uzumaki family. In short, our expectations as readers, they were subverted, and it worked to build a solid foundation. It made us wonder, how could someone like Kawaki, someone who we could see was making such a strong, honest effort to change, how could he wind up turning on Naruto and Boruto? It got to a point where many people couldn't imagine it, and they flat out refused to even see it being a possible option, with some people saying the only explanation is that Boruto was the villain and that Kawaki was the hero, and that there was no way that Kawaki would turn on Naruto, but that huge level of investment for the character is why it worked. It's right up there with Seth Rollins putting the chair to the back of Roman Reigns when he turned heel and turned on the Shield faction, and to use an anime example, since this is an anime channel, is right up there with Reiner being revealed as a traitor in Attack on Titan. While it remains to be seen if the anime, when it comes back, Studio Pierrot is able to make Kawaki stealing away Naruto as epic as a moment as what we got in Attack on Titan when the Reiner reveal was given to us. As someone who's read both mangas, I think they're about equal in terms of manga impact and how it was delivered to us. The band-aid, it got ripped off and it hurt because of how much we saw Kawaki look like he was about to change, and even when the warning signs were there that Kawaki was going to turn away from Naruto and Boruto, there were still those of us who refused to believe this could be the case, and after the shinjutsu was launched, there were those who were still holdouts, with my buddy Adil from ABD being a really good example. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Harrison from ABD also had a little bit of hesitation with this Kawaki twist as well. If I'm not mistaken, both of them made references to how it was becoming harder to root for Kawaki and that they feel a bit conflicted. And I think that's a sign of how good of a plot twist this is. It has to go even further now that we're here. One way is to have that knife that's currently lodged in the backs of a lot of fans. In order to make them begin feeling more pain, it's just to begin starting to twist that knife even further. Putting Kawaki further down that hole of madness makes it so much more rewarding when Boruto pulls him out of the madness and back into the light. It's been almost 9 years since Naruto's manga published its last chapter in Weekly Shonen Jump back in 2014, but I remember back during that time, there were a lot of fans online who were calling for Sasuke to die, even though the narrative was clearly being set up for him to get redeemed at some point in the story, with Kishimoto even telling us a couple of years prior that he knew how the final fight with Naruto and Sasuke would end. He just didn't know how to actually get us to that point. The answer was to drive Sasuke so deep into the darkness to a point where the guy sees Naruto going all boo-hoo when he's saying goodbye to Minato, doing the ugly cry, trying to fight the snot from dripping down his nose, and Sasuke just watched it all play out and casually thought to himself, "Don't cry, Naruto. I'm gonna send you to meet your parents very soon, and you guys can catch up all you want." We needed to see Sasuke continue down that hole, verbalize his plans to use the Rinnegan and Sharingan to live via immortality as a tyrant to force the peace upon the world in his vision of Hokage, and it was needed so that there could be a true payoff when Sasuke and Naruto are able to cross over into the memories of each other through chakra and converse, and have Sasuke acknowledge all the wrongs he's done and admit that he lost to Naruto and accept Naruto's worldview as being the correct one. You have to go through some pain and darkness before you can get to the payoff of redemption for a character who's fallen from grace like this. I think having Naruto and Hinata forget Boruto's their firstborn son serves both Boruto and Kawaki, as well as continue the journey of the story itself. It's another painful twist in the knife for the back for Boruto, now that his father, if he's ever unsealed, can look at Boruto and see those baby blue eyes, see that bright blonde hair, see those ever so thick whiskers and go, "Nope, you're not my son." It will likely be one of the final straws that pushes people who are on the fence about Kawaki away from him, while also taking the hardcore Kawaki fans and putting them in a position where they know Kawaki's actions might be going the wrong way, but his intentions were justified, and this is just a byproduct of it, for better or for worse. I do believe we're running into that crossroads, but we won't pull up to it for some time, because right now there are other avenues available to show us that progression of Kawaki down that rabbit hole of madness, and the current plot threads that we have are enough to hold the interest of fans for the time being, and we don't need another plot twist on this level until later on. But when it does happen, you do the same thing I mentioned earlier with Orochimaru and Sasuke, where it went from being implied that Orochimaru tried to take Itachi's body to confirming it, to using the confirmation as foreshadowing for what was about to happen. You can follow a similar plot thread here with Kawaki. That being said, I'm so curious to know how you guys feel about the potential plot twists like this, and what do you think it would take for someone on the fence with Kawaki to actually turn away from him? What would be that breaking point for you personally? While you think that over, click here to watch my every breathing style and Demon Slayer video.